What is going on, fans and friends and followers of the New 80s Revolution? I am Jason Up of the New 80s Revolution, and we are back down here in the cave, getting ready to talk about Series 2 WCW GALOOB figures. See how I said that? GALOOB. That's the proper way to pronounce it. GALOOB. As you know, my second favorite wrestling figure line, by a minuscule margin over the AWA Remcos. And they are in second place, probably based solely on the Series 1 US releases. Because if we were only basing it on the Series 2 releases, they would not be my second favorite figures, because the Series 2 UK releases aren't good. The characters are great. The characters are tremendous. But the bodies, the sculpts are not. I don't like them at all. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Series 2 was not supposed to be just a UK release. They did that. So the idea, GALOOB was assuming that the WCW line in the US was dead, because the figures had already been out in Kmart for a long while, until a couple of other stores jumped on board and you could get them at other places, so Woolworths and Toys R Us and things like that. But by the time they had picked up the figures, Series 1 had been on shelves for a while, and people were good. We got them. We're good. We don't need them from Toys R Us. We got them from Kmart a year ago. So they weren't selling. So GALOOB re-released most of Series 1 in horrible repaints, which we'll see in a minute, and the new figures from Series 2 in hopes that that would kind of revitalize the line. I guess at that point they were banking on the UK, just buying the heck out of them, and maybe then spreading back to the US, and that never happened, unfortunately. So, and that really is unfortunate, because if these guys, if GALOOB did this right and could have competed with Hasbro, could you imagine the figures, the characters that we would have had if the GALOOBs and Hasbros went year for year with each other? I mean, when did Hasbro end? 94, 95? 94, I think. Wouldn't it be incredible to have had, 70, 75 GALOOB figures as well? I mean, that would have been awesome. The characters that we could have gotten, that we will never know. It's a shame. But so, like I said, the only figures that were not released in the UK in Series 2, re-released, were Tom Zink and Butch Reed. Butch Reed did not get a UK release, and Tom Zink did not get a repaint UK release. But the following figures did. In his classic, often used, pink outfit, we have Sid Vicious. Now, somebody told me that Sid is wearing pink on the cover of Halloween Havoc 1991, I think, the VHS cover of Halloween Havoc, and I think that might have been, so I think that was Sting against Sid when Barry Windham came out dressed as Sting with the short hair and the makeup. So I don't know, did Sid wear pink in the Halloween Havoc? Not sure. If he did, then that totally validates this figure, and I'm fine with it. But here is your pink Sid UK Series 2 repaint re-release. Another one that makes no sense to me. I don't recall Brian Pillman ever wearing baby blue, and I don't recall Brian Pillman ever having tiger face on his knee pads, nor do I remember him having tiger claw marks on his boots. But here is Series 2, Brian Pillman in baby blue. And I'll do a close-up for you of the tiger face on his knee pads and the scratches on his boots. Now, I guess I can sort of see the loose connection with, you know, the Bengals. You know, Brian Pillman was a I don't know, on the practice squad of the Cincinnati Bengals, and so he wore Bengals style trunks. So I guess the tiger slash marks, claw marks, tiger face, Bengal, I guess it's all sort of connected loosely. That one is sort of understandable, but Brian Pillman, to my knowledge, never wore anything near this outfit. The worst repaint, the one that took my all-time favorite figure and just, I don't know, just ruined it. This is the UK Series 2 re-release of Ric Flair, complete with his lightning bolt trunks. That's right. You remember when Flair won that title in 95 or 85? He was rocking the maroon lightning bolt trunks. We all remember, right? No, of course not. Still a great figure, but bad paint. And I don't know the thought process that goes into it. I mean, the marketing people, the design people, they nailed it with Series 1. They had to be the same people that worked on Series 2. Did they just think that maybe the folks in the UK didn't have TV and didn't get WCW wrestling on Saturday mornings? That they thought that, Ric Flair with lightning bolt trunks would pass as a, I don't know. I don't know what thought goes into that. Here is Ron Simmons with sort of a cobalt, brighter blue, maybe a royal blue even, trunks with the white stripe down the side. There's your Ron Simmons. No Butch Reed, unfortunately. I would have loved to have seen a Ron Simmons on UK card. Never seen that. Next up in the repaint category is the Stinger. Stinger with his black trunks, tights, maybe, I don't know, tights. Sting and Lex Luger were released as a 2-pack in the UK, and Sting was wearing this outfit. Lex Luger, who I don't have, wore green trunks in the UK release, and I'll show you a picture of that now. Here we have the Steiners in a much now these are the only two figures that I think got an upgrade from Series 1. The Steiners. I actually like, this is more of like, this reminds me more of their WWF outfits. When they came over, they were wearing, more colorful outfits. So these ones I actually like better. So good tag team set here, the Steiners. A pre-ring outfit, a entrance gear, Sting. And when we look at some of the prototypes going on in the future, I think entrance gear was the direction that GALOOB was unfortunately going in. And, I'm afraid that as we went deeper into the line, if the line continued, I think we would have gotten a lot of entrance gear style figures, which are just, I don't like them. They're bad. This is acceptable. This is a good figure, but we also have multiple Stings in wrestling gear. So as a kid, you've got ring ready Sting, and then you have entrance gear Sting too. Now this figure was released on single card and with Lex Luger in a 2-pack, and here's a picture of Lex Luger's entrance gear figure. Very, very nice, actually. But again, the poses are starting to get a little weird. The entrance gear, if you didn't have the figure without gear on, then you had to really improvise and use your imagination. There's our Stinger. Anyway, couple of the re-release figures that I don't have. A couple more. Arn Anderson is very basic re-release. He's wearing all red trunks instead of the red and white. And Barry Windham is wearing blue trunks, as you can see here. Very nice figure. But, again, don't know what they were going for. I think maybe Windham might have worn, you know, different colored trunks from time to time. And I know Lex Luger did. But some of these other repaints are just silly. And they don't make any sense. And I don't know what they were thinking. So, on to the figures, the UK figures that I do have. Now, all of these have skyrocketed in price. They are expensive. And the accessories, there's two accessories in particular that make these figures very pricey. The first one is the ring gear Lex Luger's chain, which, again, I don't know what GALOOB is thinking. You know, when did Lex Luger ever bring a chain to the ring? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Now, if they were just packaging figures with weapons, kind of like the ECW figure line did, I would understand that. And Jakks did that early on with some of the bone crunching figures. They would just release them with silly accessories, a television, a boom box. You know, I would get that. But that was a little bit later, and that's not what WCW was going for. So I don't know why we got a random chain with Lex Luger. The other almost impossible to find accessory that is a ridiculously high priced item is Big Josh's axe handle. You can take a look at that. That turns the Big Josh figure into like a $400 figure if you just have that gray plastic little axe handle. And it's not even an axe. There's not even an axe at the end of it. It's just an axe handle. So it's a stick. A stick makes this figure a $400 figure. But there he is, Big Josh. Now, this begins the bad sculpts. I mean, I don't like this. You know, his knees and feet are, his stance is off. You know, of course, he's got the one arm way back because he's holding the axe handle. But I don't know. They're just starting to, you know, they're starting to go in a weird direction with the sculpts here. The body sculpts, anyway. The head sculpts look great. The outfits look great. And this Big Josh in wrestling gear, I mean, this is what he wore in the ring. So, you know, this is fine. But the shape is off. You know, they just start off poorly with Big Josh. Again, another a great figure, a great name, great idea. The outfit is incredible. I love it. But the sculpt is not good. Here's the Dustin Rhodes, the natural Dustin Rhodes figure. So Goldust's first figure. Now we know him as Dustin Rhodes in AEW. Who'd have thunk that 1991 he'd still, you know, he'd get his first figure and still be around in 2020. That's pretty awesome. But the play pose is terrible. You know, again, we've got one foot in front of the other. I don't get it. I don't get that. We've got these open hands, open arms. I don't get it. You know, great figure, great idea, great name, bad pose. Bad pose. Dustin Rhodes. One of these figures is okay, I suppose. And the other one is just junk pose. Again, tremendous names. Love the idea that the Freebirds were released in Series 2 of the GALOOB because they were the tag team at the time, multiple tag team champions, or at least once. Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin, that variation of the Freebirds. And Michael Hayes looks okay. I'm okay with the Michael Hayes pose. This is kind of like what I'm used to with the LJNs. But then we just have this hunched over spread, you know, just like the Dustin Rhodes figure of Jimmy Garvin. It's just a bad figure. You know, and they really start to go downhill. This is a very expensive carded 2-pack. In fact, it came with a a ring bell accessory, I believe. I'll pull it here. The Fabulous Freebirds come in a 2-pack with an accessory of some kind. Ring bell, ring timer, I'm not sure. But here they are, the Freebirds. Now, the worst UK figure of them all, fittingly, I guess, because this guy was, you know, a deplorable wrestler, is the El Gigante figure. Now, here's my problem with this. The figure looks great. Okay, he was billed at like 7'9", right? So height is good, I think. We're going to compare it in a minute. But the straight up hand pose makes no sense to me. No sense at all. I don't get it. You can't play with it. There's nothing you can do with it. You know, this is a statue. So let's see. Now Ric Flair, we'll take a Sting who's standing straight up. I don't know. Sting is what, 6 foot something, 6'2" maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's proper scale. Maybe. I don't know. But you know, what do you know? Even look, these were designed for play. You know, this is 1991. This is at a time when, you know, there's not a lot of adult collectibles. You know, we're not displaying this on a shelf. Kids are getting this to play with it, and there's nothing you can do with it. And it's not fun. You don't get to do anything other than a giant, you know, power slam, I guess. But here's the El Gigante figure. Would later go on to be equally terrible Giant Gonzalez in the WWF for a short time. So that's the UK figures, and the line died after that. It was over. No more WCW Galoobs. However, there are some prototypes that were either going to be a part of Series 2, which would have been a really deep line, I think, if they had done Series 2. But check out some of these prototypes. Now, first of all, we're going to take a look at how I said they were going with ring gear. Take a look at the Freebirds in ring gear. Horrible. Horrible. It's nice to see them. You know, it's nice to see a prototype, and everybody's going to look at it and go, oh, that would have been great. No, it wouldn't have been great. They would have been bad. They would have been bad. Take a look at Black Blood. Now, this guy was in the WCW for about an hour. And Black Blood gets a WCW Galoob figure. Now, I take that back. I watched 1991 WCW a while ago. And actually, Black Blood was on for about 6 months. And he was on almost every other week. You know, so some of these guys we forget actually hung around for a little while. Black Blood, not long, but he was, I guess, long enough to get a prototype, at least, for a maybe Series 3 WCW line. Black Blood, of course, if you didn't know, is Billy Jack Haynes from the WWF, from Portland. Now, Richard Morton, here's another great name, great idea, decent pose. They're calling him Richard Morton, but I can't remember when Ricky Morton joined the York Foundation, Terry Runnels' York Foundation, Marlena's Goldust's ex-wife's York Foundation. I thought that he had a different look. I didn't remember if he kept the Rock and Roll Express look. But there's Richard Morton. Now, PN News gets a prototype. Take a look at that. That is pretty awesome. And that figure I actually enjoy. I like that. That's kind of like the Arn Anderson pose. It's a good, you know, sort of a fat guy pose, and it looks good. That would have been a fun figure. Also would have been a fun figure, the Diamond Stud. Take a look at that. Your pre-Razor Ramon Diamond Stud. And he really, you know, when he came to the WWF, Scott Hall took that character and just magnified it, you know, like 100 times. You know, the Diamond Stud is a very weak Razor Ramon, but he would have gotten a WCW Galoob figure. And finally, we have Ric Flair. Again, pre-ring Ric Flair, which I would have been fine with because we have many, well, we have two. We have the right one and then we have the wrong one. We have an in-ring Flair. But see, I don't like wasting a roster spot on a ring gear figure, so I can absolutely do without the Freebirds. And I can do without Ric Flair. You know, I can do without Sting in ring gear and Lex Luger in ring gear. We don't need it. You know, this is a time when we need fresh spots for fresh faces, for fresh figures. One other thing that I wanted to show you real quick before we get into some of the additional Galoob items. Prototypes. Not prototypes, we just did prototypes. Customs. I'm not a big customs fan. I don't like customs. I don't like LJN customs. I mean, there are some, there's like 10% that are good, and the rest are just a repainted figure. You know, you can repaint Greg Valentine into The Undertaker. It's still Greg Valentine, painted like The Undertaker. There are some really good customizers out there who do some good LJN work, but for the most part, 90% of what I've seen, I don't like. Same goes for Hasbro customs, just customs in general. But there is somebody out there, and I don't know who it is. I've seen these pictures on a wrestling figure forum, and they blew my mind. The WCW Galoob customs. And if I can find them, I'm going to pull them up for you and insert them here. But there are exact scale customs of Nikita Koloff, of Ricky Steamboat, of Mick Foley, of Vader, I think, and I think of Rick Rude. I think Rick Rude also has a cut, and you know, they are. I have no idea how these people did what they did. They look so good, so good. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you pull something like that off. But those are amazing customs. Okay, so there's a couple of more items that I wanted to show you. I want to show you a carded figure, a fun little WCW belt, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that as soon as I sip this beer. All right, I sipped the beer. I'm sipping it again. So the first thing I wanted to show you was what the cards looked like. So here's a carded Tom Zink, really plain. And this was the first thing that I saw. Remember in part one when I told you that I was watching WCW Saturday night, and in between commercials, kind of a bumper, they showed the coming soon WCW figures, and this was the image that they put up. And so that was my first look at the WCW figures. Very basic carding, but very great carding. I love this carding. The back actually has, real life pictures of the roster of the series. And no kid wants to see that. We want to see what the figures are going to look like. But they didn't do that, and I don't think they did it on the UK releases either. Just like with WWF LJN, we have larger than life figures that I don't know what anybody would do with. These are extremely heavy. The WWF LJN ones are like a very soft plastic. These are weapons. These each weigh probably 6 or 7 pounds. And they are extremely hard. Don't know what anybody does with these as a kid. As an adult, they make lovely statues, and they're great. I have no problem with these. We've got Lex Luger, we've got Ric Flair. They also have Sting, and Sid Vicious is part of that lineup. I also have one of them carded. We've got a Lex Luger in the box, very heavy. And on the back, you can see the Sting and the Sid. The Sid is particularly nice. I like that one with the full outfit, the full black doublet, I guess it's called, right? What is it called? It's not a singlet. Is it a leotard? Should we call it a leotard? All right, the final little item I wanted to show you, fun little item, is the GALOOB WCW Championship Belt. Very nice. Got a little boy who's, dressed up like the Stinger. Good stuff. I don't know if it's. I think it. I can kind of tell you it's maybe a thicker plastic, or maybe a thicker foam. Fun little toy. The back has the lineup, the ring, and some of the has three of the 14-inch figures. No Flair. Where's Flair? Flair is missing from the back of this package. I don't know what happened. But his other figures are there. His 16-inch is missing. I'm calling them 16 inches. They're actually 14 inches. I think the LJN ones were 16-inch, 2 inches taller. So that's that. That is the WCW line. That is part 2, the UK series, and that is the end of the run. That's the end of the line. And I probably won't complete this anytime soon because some of those UK repaints, the ring gear Lex Luger with chain is like a $200 figure. Barry Windham blue trunks I might be able to get for $50. Probably the Arn Anderson with red trunks is probably the easiest. But I don't want to pay $200 for the ring gear Lex Luger. I don't. Even though this is my second favorite line, I don't want to. I think the thing that I probably will get, hopefully sooner than later, is the ring. But I was even looking at that, and the prices now are skyrocketing. So I think the ring is about $150, which I would want the box with it because it's such a nice box, and then we're talking about $250. So I don't know. I'm not going to go after them anytime soon, but hopefully I'll be able to stumble across them somewhere. That's about it. That's it. That's the WCW line. My second favorite line. Hope you enjoyed. We will dive into the Remcos next. That is the next. That's going to be huge. What I'm doing with I did the WCW Galoobs first because I wanted to do something special with the Remcos, and so I reached out to a few people on a Facebook group, a AWA Remco Facebook group, and I asked them to show me some pics of their collection and some of their rarer items. As you know, the Matt Mania series in the Remcos is very expensive, very hard to complete, and I could easily pull some stock photos, but I wanted some people to show me their collections, and there's some interesting stuff that I've learned, including a prototype that was only seen once in a catalog insert, maybe not even a catalog, maybe just a promo sheet of a prototype character that never ever saw the light of day. Very interesting stuff. So we'll take a look at that. So Remcos are going to be next, and all the other stuff that this channel delivers. Speaking of diving into Remcos, my 2 children are down here playing with Sega and my toys, and Liam, as you are well aware of my boy, he wanted me to tell you that he now knows how to dive into the pool. Oh, he knows how to front flip. Yeah, and the 4-year-old knows how to what? Dive? Yeah, and you can swim underwater? Yeah, I don't know why they wanted me to tell you that, but they've been begging me to tell you that, so now you know. The 8-year-old can do a front flip into the water, and the 4-year-old can go underwater. Yeah, thanks guys. All right, we'll see you next time. A good night now.